Hi, my name is Alfred Kinsay. I'm a book author and I'm also a vlogger. I have my other YouTube channel which is just called ACCQ, Continuing Professional Education. Now that deals more with accounting as well as taxation, and this channel actually, which is my namesake, Alfred Kinsay Book Review, is dedicated in book review particularly. Now you may have seen me doing those exercises. Those are part of education, physical education. But this channel or this niche, which is book review, and being an author myself, I would like to dedicate and share some of the best books out there that we may not even be aware of or heard of, just like what I'm about to tell you. Well, some of my viewers may have seen me, my subscriber in the other channel, ACCQ Continuing Professional Education. They see me as a teacher in accounting, teaching accounting, tax, as well as business. But some of them may have not known me as an author. But I've been an author for quite some time, and I grew up with a family whose main business was in books. My father was a salesman during the 60s, and in the 70s he formed a book company. And one of the books that he offered during that time was a book called Successful Achievement Program. Now, this book, Successful Achievement Program, which we will about to review. Now, this book which we are about to review, it's called Successful Achievement Program. This is actually a 5-set books. Now, a lot of here are very educational, and you see those self-help books that we have in commercialized industry today of the book business in self-help. Even before those books were published, this book, Successful Achievement Program, was already published in 1966. And a good example of some of the books that were published even before the 7 Habits of Dr. Stephen Covey came into public's view. That was in 1990s, and this book was already in existence. And as I read this book, well, I discovered that some of the ideas that was placed there in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People were derived from here, because Dr. Sidney N. Bremer is actually one of the pioneers in self-help. He was the contemporary of Napoleon Hill. In fact, he was the lawyer of Napoleon Hill, Dr. Sidney N. Bremer. And just to give you a little background of Dr. Sidney N. Bremer, he's an educator. He has a PhD, and he wrote this book together with other books. You can search him in Google, and which focuses on the development of the individual. Now, like his contemporary Napoleon Hill, which is self-development, but Napoleon Hill's ideas or subject matter focuses more on wealth creation. Well, this book has garnered a lot of awards, and it was being knighted by the royal family for so many times. Now, the only thing that is, well, you would say that it was not commercialized. Now, so this book remained a hidden secret to a lot of those who are seeking to know more or to discover more self-development. So, well, this book, unlike Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which focuses more on wealth creation. This book also tackles some of those ideas, but it's more focused on the total development of the individual. It's about true education. Now, upon having that true education, the individual or the person can accumulate wealth by attracting it to himself or to herself. So, the ideas of this book are really too great to be passed, because it was, well, what is the reason why this book was not commercialized? Well, back in 1966 when this was published, it was actually quite a hit in the US, but Dr. Bremer wanted it not just to be commercially viable, because he thought that the essence of the book would be lost if you commercialize it. That's why in 1976, actually my father met Dr. Sidney N. Bremer in the United States, and during that time, Dr. Bremer sold the rights to publish the Successful Achievement Program. In fact, I have the written agreement of Dr. Sidney N. Bremer and my father, because, well, of course, you cannot publish this and distribute this without having the consent of the author. So as you can read in this contract between Cesar M. Kinsai, that's my dad, the owner of Successful Achievement Unlimited Enterprises, the contract is about the rights to publish. So let's just go on the stipulation. So the publisher shall have the exclusive rights to publish, merchandise, sell, and otherwise distribute throughout the Philippines in the English language, subject to the terms and conditions set forth herein, the following title: Successful Achievement by Sidney Newton Bremer, PhD, and consisting of 4 study volumes and a concordance. So as we can see here, the year that was published, 1966, it was copyrighted in 1966 by Dr. Sidney N. Bremer. So as we can see, the author warrants, represents, and guarantees that he is the sole owner of the work and has full authority to make this agreement, that the works do not infringe any copyright violation, any property rights, or contain any scandalous, libelous, or unlawful matter. In the Philippines, in bringing out a Philippine edition of this work, it may be edited by the publisher, provided, however, that such editing shall not substantially change the meaning or otherwise substantially alter the text of the work. The publisher may make reference from time to time to applicable living and noteworthy men and women of Philippine nationality. So as we can see here, the signature of the distributor, which is my dad's company, and Sidney Bremer himself, the author. So the idea here of this book review, wherein we're taking up Successful Achievement Program, is the whole idea of this book, Successful Achievement Program by Dr. Sidney N. Bremer, is there is no sure way along the road to success than to follow in the footsteps of those who have successfully journeyed before us. So that's a quote from Dr. Sidney N. Bremer. So he talks about the most successful men and women during his time, and setting up those principles which we can follow, because that is already a somehow tried and true. There are actually within his studies, he found out that there are 12 principles that can attain the success that we that we aspire for, such as know thyself. This is the first law of success. We will talk about that in a little while. Set your seals, organize effort, perseverance, mental training, personality as a success asset, applied knowledge, balanced budget, creative imagination, physical wholeness, friendly cooperation, and the last one is which is happiness and peace of mind. Created this entire success management program, which was based on the findings of Dr. Bremer. In this lesson, we shall reveal you the sum and substance of the 25,000 years of successful human experience. So he called the experience of the most successful men and women in history. So this represents the fruitful years of 588 collaborators and contributors to this program. So namely Douglas MacArthur, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Albert Einstein, and Henry Ford. So these are some of the men and women. And some of them, Dr. Sidney N. Bremer had a chance to converse with, while some of them, through other research or other information, other resource, such as interviewing their relatives as well as their business colleagues, and as well as their works practically. So it was a well thought out research. So of course Douglas MacArthur, we know him, the great general during the Second World War. Thomas Edison, the one of the greatest entrepreneurs during that time, and of course also inventor. John D. Rockefeller, of course the richest man in the world, as well as Andrew Carnegie, Albert Einstein, and Henry Ford, the inventor of Ford. It's the first principle is know thyself. So the book talks about the the two. We must first have this knowledge about ourselves and about the universe, such that we are we are guided by a an infinite intelligence, as you might say, or a superior intelligence, and which also guides the of course the galaxy, the Earth, the sun, and it is specific. Its rotation is specific. So the way this superior intelligence is guiding the whole universe is also guiding us. It's also within us. So knowing thyself is also knowing God, knowing knowing that God is within us and it is guiding us. And of course, as a human being, we have the book also talks about the genetics that we possess. That these are not accidental, and becoming a human being, fulfilling our purpose, has its we have our special purpose here on this planet. So it was designed by a great God. So it says here that behind an order, one of the quotes in that book, behind order, there is an orderer. Behind design, there is a designer. And behind a purpose, there is a purposer. So the odds, the arguments, the reasons, and the explanations are on the all in the side of intelligence. So we cannot just be accidentally came into existence. So there was a a superior force that has designed
this whole the whole existence, this us human beings and the planets, because even says there that the Earth has a circumference of 25,000 miles. It rotates on its axis once in each 24 hours, traveling at a speed of approximately 1,000 miles per hour. Because it rotates and is not stationary like Mercury, we have day and night. The part of the Earth facing the sun has day and the rest na night. As the Earth revolves, night turns to day and day turns to night. Now, moving forward in his text, suppose the Earth revolved 100 miles per hour instead of 1,000. Instead of taking 24 hours to make one complex revolution, it would take 240 hours. So, what would this mean? This would be 10 times longer, so that the continued excessive heat for 12 hours would extend to 124 hours, burning up everything and making life impossible. Also, the nights would be 120 hours long instead of 12. And this extended dark and cold would freeze things up, making life impossible. So, how did we come that our Earth revolves at just the right speed to make human life possible? Did it just happen that way? So, the text is practically saying, telling us that there is a God that so precisely guides human existence or life here on earth. So it could never be like when it says that the earth just rotates the way it is. No, it could never be too fast or too slow, because that might not be a good thing. And because the ones who's guiding this planet and the whole life existence here on this earth and human life is so precisely in control of that. So we need not fear of worries, and we should have faith in this infinite intelligence. Some may call it God, some may call it Yahweh, some may call it Allah. Um, those are just names, but there is an infinite intelligence that is guiding us. So this is what this first principle is guiding, is telling us. The second one is setting your sails. So having an aim is the key to achieving your best, said the late great Henry J. Kaiser. So it also talks here that your aim needs to be as bold as your courage and not timid as your deceitful fears. Now it tells us that setting our sails should be just high enough ju- for us to reach that goal, but not too high enough, because well, that would frustrate us. Just like Sidney and Bremer compared it to the migratory birds, wherein they instinctively know that during winters, they go south. If those migratory birds know just when to reach their destination, they're just high up, just simply a little bit high above them. So we can also pursue our own destination, and it should not be that low, because well, that will bore us. Just enough to challenge us, just within our grasp, within our talents, within our capabilities. Because a lot of people may either have a mismatched goals or goals that are way below them. You know? Mismatch in the sense that it is way too high for them to achieve, or it's either way too low. It should be just high enough that we could be able to reach it. Now, this is where the flow state is, wherein your whole being, mind, body, and heart is at one or attuned with that goal, because there's enough challenge. But then again, that challenge is too not so high that is beyond the competence, because well, that would have detrimental effects. The third principle is burning desire. uh, Says here that wishes, hopes, ambition, they're just without a burning desire, a they're just simply a wishful thinking. The term burning desire was first used by Dr. William Matthews in 1872 to describe an intense determination. So it says in the book that you cannot move anything unless you have that burning desire. And it's like it is comparable to a train, a steam train, that there should be enough heat. It should be at least 212 degrees. Otherwise, the train won't move. If it's 211 degrees, then you won't be able to move. Even if it's boiling hot, it should not be less than 200 degrees. So it says in the book. No? So lukewarm water will not run anything. So resolute determination equals desire plus expectation. Which is also tantamount to faith. The next principle talked about here in this book is about doing it now. So this is the motto of every successful man. So it talks about taking action. You may have the best car, and the car is loaded with gas and it's all tuned up, everything. But if you don't turn on the ignition, it will do nothing. And the next one is about principle number 5 is mental training. So we it is compared to an iceberg. Most of us are using only 10% or even less than 10%, and 90% is submerged. And this is the potential that this book would want us to explore. So through mental training. And the next principle is about concentration of purpose. So the power to bring all of one's scattered forces into one focal point makes all the difference between success and failure. Now, Dr. Sidney N. Bremer compared it to a magnifying glass. You know, even if the when you put a piece of paper under the sun, under the heat of the sun, even if it's there for 24 hours, it would not burn the paper. But when you place a magnifying glass over it, you know in about in less than an hour, you would see that it would begin to burn. So this is the analogy Dr. Bremer is referring to. So the sun might blaze out upon the earth forever without burning a hole or setting a fire in it. But if you put a magnifying glass, it would penetrate to that paper. So very few of these rays concentrated in magnifying glass would transform a diamond into a vapor. Wow. So these are the words that he would use in that book. He used in that book. And of course, having that single knowledge of that focus would lead us to the literature of the world, because everything is interconnected. Now the next one is benefiting from failure, or the next principle. It is like comparable to a an oak tree. So an oak tree, unlike an acorn who is protected by in the forest by bigger trees, it it's not able to potentially grow as it can. But a an oak tree left in the an open field with all this turbulence, the typhoon, no? So in during its life, it seemed to stunt its growth. It seemed that there is no growth with that oak tree. But during those years, or during those time that it seemed that it was stunted its growth, its roots are spreading all over the earth until it's bigger than the 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 visual tree itself, the one that we see. And it cannot be, even if there's, you know stronger winds, be- it just it just becomes stronger. So to know how to wring victory from defeat and make stepping stones of our stumbling blocks is the secret to success, said Marden. Also is, in a sense, the highway to success. And in as much as this every discovery of what is false leads us to seek earnestly after what is true. So failure is just an indication that something is wrong, something is false, and it is actually scraping out all these superficialities until we have we have journeyed in our true path. And this is what but benefiting from failure is. So no man is a failure who is upright and true. So no cause is a failure which is in the rights. And the next principle of the successful achievement program is mastery through this self-discipline. So this encompasses the mental, physical, and spiritual. So having this self-possession. You know, there's a saying that no one can insult you or can offend you unless you allow it. So he that reigns within himself, says Milton, and rules his passion, his desires, his fears is more than a king. So simply by mastering, so one does not touch real power until he attains self-mastery through self-discipline. So many students ask, how can I master my moods? How can I effectively practice self-discipline? Simply by mastering the secret of right thinking. So the next principle is creative imagination. So in the book, it also tells there are two types of imagination: the reproductive and the creative. Now, the reproductive is the mental action of reproducing mental images stored in the memory under suggestion in associated images. So it is more like a synthetic imagination, while the creative imagination is more like a an inspiration. It is a process of combining former experiences in the creation of new images, which are different from any of those previously experienced. So this is like a novel thing that has come into fruition. No? So a lot of great men and women have discovered this. No? So this creative imagination, but well, reproductive imagination. So we have a lot of examples here in our world, even in our technological world, information technology world, you know. So it also says here that our vision do not mock us. They are evidences of what is to be, the four glimpses of possible reality. So this is one of the key factors in success is using your imagination to create your future. And the next one, which is principle number 10, is applied knowledge. So a lot of scholars are just simply stuffing things in their heads, book smarts. But true education should have reference to the whole man, the body, the mind, and the heart. So the educated man is not just the gladiator, nor the scholar who just knows the books by the books, the theories, nor the upright man who is a spiritual without practical application, but a well balanced combination of the three. So the well developed tree is not simply well rooted, nor with giant branches, nor splendid with rich foliage, but all of this together. So this is complete. This is what education is all about. So nature does not make a specialist a mere memory gland or a money gland, but her aim is a fully developed, well-rounded out person. Now, the next principle is about friendly cooperation. So it says in the book that nature abounds with evidence of cooperation. We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. So they are in coordination with one another. Even our stomachs, when we eat, well, it goes to our stomachs and it is processed. So there's cooperation there. So just like just like us, we need also cooperation from other people. Yeah? And it should be beneficial also for them as well as for us. So to act against one another is contrary to nature. So that is not what nature intended. So what this is what the book is trying to say. And it is acting against one another to be vexed and turn away. So there's an example that was given in the book that Apollo, the greatest voyage of exploration, the first moon in the there's the first man in the moon ever undertaken by a man, brought this first men from Earth to a successful moon landing and returned them safely to Earth. So this is not just done by one astronaut or by one pilot or by one engineer, but it is a coordination and friendly cooperation of all this from the staff, from the ground staff to the astronauts, to the engineers, everything, even the those that are not directly connected with the Apollo voyage. So this is a great example of how a friendly cooperation can achieve. And lastly, so the book talks about physical wholeness. So our successes in life, even our very character, depends to a great extent on the maintenance of a sound physical health. So physical health is very important in order to be a success. So the character sympathizes with and even unconsciously takes on the nature of the body. So if you would observe that when you are sick, your mind tends to think about what you're feeling. So that was you cannot concentrate on the things that you want to put your mind into. So physical wholeness is a an imperative to being successful. So if we expect to do well in this life, we must keep well, said Robert Collier. All who have risen to great heights of successful achievement would agree. So this involves regularity in living accounts for one's power of achievement. So you must try to come to each day's work as the prize fighter enters the ring in superb condition. There you go. So, in as much as possible, avoid those food that are rich in in a lot of like in sauce or in you know a lot of this artificial ingredients, and it's suggested that you eat the plainest foods as much as possible. Well, of course, in this time, we from time to time we crave some of those foods. Well, as long as it is regulated, and at least 80% of our foods come from the plainest foods as possible. And also, we need to have exercise. That's why we also advocate exercise, because it is also beneficial to our thinking. Because when we are physically fit, then we can think clearly.
That is just the first part of our review of Sidney N. Bremer's Successful Achievement Program. So we will take up in the next video the review of another one of his one of the books, also with his co-partner, with his partner. I said this is Dr. Robert L. Kramer. This is actually part of the set of Successful Achievement Program. They are complementary with each other. So we're going to review that in the next video. Meantime, subscribe, share, and like the video. God bless and stay safe.